Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Keisha, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 books of 2020. So I am a little late to the party posting this video, but I did want to go ahead and share with you guys what my favorite books were from last year. I also want to go ahead and let you know that the lighting may be really crappy in this video because I have been filming already and I let the light get a little bit too dim. And also, Jovi is in the background playing with some squeaky toys and running around as she always is. Oh no! Are you okay? Are you okay? Did you fall? Did you fall? You didn't make it. You didn't make it. No, it's okay. Okay, Jovi's pride is a little bit hurt. She tried to jump on a chair, which she doesn't need to be jumping anyways. Are you shaking? I don't know what's wrong. If she fell, I guess she's okay. Or she's wanting to lick me. What's going on? I know. Are you okay? Here, lay down. Okay, I apologize if the ankle changed at all, but I had to attend to my dog, so sorry about that. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the list. So we are going to go backwards. So number 10 on my list is In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle. Now let me go ahead and say that all of my synopses of these books is going to be mediocre in comparison to when I first read them, because it has been months and months for most of these. But I really did like In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle. I feel like there has been some controversy on some of the subject matter in the book, but what I got out of it seemed to be different than what I feel like other people did. But overall, what this story is about is this girl who basically has the perfect life. She's got her whole life ahead of her. Everything's planned out. But then one day she ends up taking a nap and then having a dream or waking up in her life 5 years in the future. And she is in a different job, in a different apartment, and sleeping beside a man that is not her current fiance. So this obviously takes her life into turmoil when she does return to present day, and some things happen that I'm not going to go into detail about, but I do want to go ahead and say that, like I said, there is some controversial stuff with this book that I don't really get personally, but I've heard some people really bash this, and it kind of like confused me and upset me at the same time. But everybody has their own opinion, everybody has their own perspective of things. If you would like to know minorly what I'm talking about, I'm going to go ahead and put a spoilers card here so I can kind of tell what I'm talking about. If you've already read the book, go ahead and watch this. And if you haven't, please don't watch the spoilers and just fast forward until the screen doesn't say spoilers anymore. So basically what happens is this girl, and I don't remember names or anything because it's been a while since I've read it, but this girl ends up, like the guy she's with 5 years in the future is her best friend's boyfriend or fiance or whatever. And it kind of reminded me of One Day in December, which I really loved, but the book kind of takes a turn. To me, what it was about was when her friend got cancer and passed away, this was how her and her friend's boyfriend, fiance, whatever he was, dealt with the grief. Grief isn't pretty, it doesn't look perfect, and this stuff kind of happens as a result of it. And I think the only reason that things might have happened in a weird way while her friend was still living or with the guy when she first met him was because she had seen 5 years in the future. So it's like, I feel like it was kind of like, it wasn't her fault. I don't want to say that, like, obviously everybody's responsible for their own actions, but if she wouldn't have seen that, she wouldn't have felt all these ways, or if she wouldn't have jumped in the future. But anyways, to me, I felt like more than a romance, it was more of like a friendship romance and a friend love story than anything else between her and her best friend. And I also feel like it was about grief. But some people have taken really big offense to this book, and I don't understand it. I'm not going to try to. I don't want to argue with anybody about it because, like I said, I know we have all different opinions and different perspectives when we read things, but I did want to share mine because I just was dumbfounded when I heard that people were thinking like other things about it. So this is how I felt like the author was trying to relay it, and I feel very strongly about that, but I don't want to get into arguments with anybody. If you didn't like the book, it's okay. It just kind of hurt my feelings because I thought it was really good. It made me cry. It moved me. But anyways, okay, I'm done with the spoilers now. So I did rate this book 5 stars. Thinking back on it now, I think I would probably drop the rating to like 4 or 4.5. It was memorable, but I have read books that I have liked better. Coming in at number 9 on my list is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is one of those books that I would recommend everybody read. I think it was really good. I believe it is middle grade or young adult, but it's a book that deals with grief and does it really well and in a way that I have never seen done before. So this book follows Connor, and Connor, I believe, is about 12 years old, and his mother is taking cancer treatments. One day, Connor wakes up to a monster at his window, and the monster tells him that he's going to tell him 3 stories, and after the 3rd story, Connor has to tell the monster his truth. That's all that really needs to be said about it. Like I said, it deals with grief in a really unique way. I would put a trigger warning on it for that if that is something that might upset you or anything like that. But I do think this was really well done, and I found out that the idea for this story was actually by Siobhan Dowd. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Siobhan or Siobhan Dowd. And she had passed away from cancer before she finished the story, so Patrick Ness took it and finished it for her, and I think he did an amazing job. It was heart-wrenching and heartwarming and heartbreaking all at the same time. I did buddy read this with my friend Bree from Call Me After Coffee, and we also watched the film adaptation. Both were phenomenal. I don't even know how to compare them. I feel like the book was better because it was the book, but at the same time, the movie was so good. It really added great visuals to the story, so I would highly recommend this one. And I don't really know why I didn't hold it up. There's going to be a picture on the screen, but I had it right in front of me. I just didn't hold it up. The illustrator of this book is Jim Kay, and I think the illustrations in this book are just breathtaking. Let me see if I can find one of the full page illustrations. They are just, that's not the best one, but like, not that it's not good, but they're just so phenomenal. Like, just look at the artwork. So good. Anyways, so this was a great book. I rated it 5 stars, and like I said, it is a book that I would recommend for everyone. Coming in at number 8 is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I have been hearing so much about this book within the online book community, and I didn't really think it would be something that I would like, but I decided to pick it up anyways, kind of on a whim. My husband and I actually read this together, and we also read Thunderhead. I still have not made it to The Toll, which I hope to someday read with my friend Bree from Call Me After Coffee. Again, you guys hear about her a lot from me, but that's honestly because I talk to her more than a lot of people. But anyway, so this is kind of like a sci-fi dystopian book where there's no death, disease, no war, no hunger. It's basically supposed to be the perfect world. However, in a perfect world where people don't die anymore, you have to have some way to level out the population, which is where scythes come in. And scythes get to randomly select people to kill off. And this story follows Citra and Rowan, who are 2 apprentices to a scythe, and it follows their journey into the scythehood and the scythedom. And there's this character in there called the Thunderhead that's basically kind of reminds me of like iCloud, if iCloud were to be like a sentient being that kind of controlled things. But it's really interesting, it's really good, and even if this doesn't sound like something you would typically like, I would highly recommend it because based off just the synopsis, that's not the only reason I picked it up. Like, I picked it up mostly because of the hype, but this is one of my favorite books of the year now, so I would highly recommend it. I think it's great, and I'm really excited to finish the series. Coming in at number 7 is Nightbooks by J.A. White. That was Jovi, sorry about that. Anyways, this was a really cute middle grade book. Jovi might come into the scene just now, but I'm going to keep talking because I'm losing light. So I apologize for the less than quality content, unless you think Jovi's quality content, in which you would be correct. So this book follows a boy named Alex, and Alex sneaks out in the middle of the night to burn a backpack full of Nightbooks. And Nightbooks are basically Alex's stories that he's written that for some reason he's burning now. But on his way to burn his Nightbooks, he hears one of his favorite movies playing from an apartment in his apartment complex. So he goes there and he ends up being trapped by this witch in her apartment, and he cannot escape. In order for him to survive, he has to read stories to this witch every night, which this is kind of a play on Arabian Nights, if you've read that, which I haven't, but I did buy it after I read this book because I was very intrigued by the concept. So this was a really good story. It was really creepy. It was a good book for spooky season. I don't think I read it around spooky season, but it's good any time of the year. I thought it was very well done. It wasn't super predictable, but I mean, like, obviously in a middle grade, there are some things you can predict, but I thought it was really, really good. I probably will read this again at some point, and I would highly recommend it. I rated it 5 stars, and I can't wait to pick up more books from J.A. White. Coming in at number 6 on my list is Small Spaces by Katherine Arden. If you have been here any amount of time and have seen me talk about small spaces, you will know that this book absolutely spooked me. This is a middle grade, and it scared me more than any book I've ever read. It literally it honestly, okay, if we're being honest, you guys, it really made me not want to look at scarecrows anymore. Like, I will never look at a scarecrow the same way again. And I don't know, it just, like, I was reading it at night in the dark, which, why did I do that anyways? But for some reason, that just kind of like I knew nothing was going to happen, but it just spooked me. But yeah, I enjoyed being spooked. So this story follows a girl named Ollie, and one day Ollie comes upon this lake or stream or something, I can't remember, some body of water, and she finds this woman who is about to throw this book into the lake, and she's like, no, don't do that. She loves books. I mean, I'd probably do the same thing. She's like, no, don't throw it away, give it to me, I'll take it off your hands. And the woman's like, no, nobody can have this book. Well, the girl ends up taking the book, running off, and the book was called Small Spaces, and it told a story about these two brothers that went missing. It told the story of the smiling man, and this all happened on this farm, which it seems like when they go on this field trip next week at school that Ollie may be visiting the same farm just under a different name. So this is a really, really good story. It's really great for spooky season. If you are a fan of Goosebumps, I definitely think you will like this one. I gave it 5 stars, and I'm really looking forward to reading Dead Voices soon, and then any other books that come out in this series. Jovi's back. Coming in at number 5 on the list is The HalfLife of Molly Pierce by Katrina Leno. This story was absolutely incredible. Katrina Leno is one of my favorite authors. She just has a way of really sucking you into her writing. As far as the atmosphere, it's really fast-paced. She does a really great job of telling a story in a very poetic way, and she does a great job of creating an atmosphere and story. This book follows a girl named Molly Pierce, and Molly has been having blackouts for about a year, if not more. Molly will be at school one minute, and then all of a sudden she'll wake up driving down the road the next minute and have no idea when she left school, what happened, where she's been, or where she's going now. So there are lots of pieces of Molly's life that are missing, until one day she comes upon a motorcycle accident and meets this boy that she shouldn't know because she hasn't met him before, or has she? So we go into this story where she gets to meet up with this guy different times, and he kind of helps her piece together things that she has been missing in her life. This story handles mental health in a way that I thought was done really well. I don't want to go into too much detail because it's very easy to spoil this, and honestly, you will probably figure out what's going on not too far into the book, but I don't feel like that took away anything from the story. I thought it was really well done, and the ending just had me like reeling, honestly. Like, I was gripped, I was heartbroken, and it was just so good. I would just definitely recommend it. It kept me on the edge of my seat, and it was a 5-star read for me. Coming in at number 4 on my list is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This is the second Riley Sager book I had ever read behind Lock Every Door. I did like Lock Every Door. I gave it 4 stars, but the way that it ended was just not like my preferential ending. It's not that it was a bad ending. I just didn't want to read about stuff like that. But I did pick up The Last Time I Lied, and it gave me Pretty Little Liars vibes. If you've ever watched that show, it was so good. So it gave me those vibes. It's set in a camp with these girls, and then the girls go missing, and there's one girl that's left, and so the camp gets locked down, and there's like all this speculation on what actually happened and where the girls went because they were never found. It's a really good story. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I will say it is kind of a slow-paced thriller, but it still kept me on the edge of my seat and kept me interested. Riley Sager is a really great author, and the end, like when I tell you guys that I literally could not breathe, I literally could not breathe. Like, my heart was racing. I was on the verge of hyperventilating when things happened. Like, there was twists and twists and twists, and it's just, it blew my mind. So I highly recommend this. It's one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I gave it 5 stars, and it is well deserving of every person who picks it up. Like, it meets all the stars, all the reads. It's phenomenal. So I would highly recommend that one. I apologize. I keep having to adjust. Jovi is tired of me filming and wanting me to love on her. So we are just going to deal with it, and this is how it's going to be for a little bit. So I feel like the top 3 books on my list could possibly be interchanged a little bit, just depending on my mood or what time of the year it is or what month it is or anything else. But I did rate them based off of how I feel about them now. I did just want to insert there that these books could be interchanged just depending on how I'm feeling. So coming in at number 3 is The Wicked Deep by Shea Ernshaw. This book was so good, and I feel like most people don't rate it very high. Like, it gets a pretty average rating, I believe about 3 stars on Goodreads, but I really enjoyed this. Shea Ernshaw is another one of those authors that really does atmosphere well. I don't think this is a really character-driven story. I did get invested in the main character after some time, but it did take me about 100 pages to get into it and to get interested in the character, but the atmosphere is really what held my attention in this book. So this story is about a girl named Penny, and Penny lives in this town in Oregon where 2 centuries ago, these 3 sisters were accused of practicing witchcraft and they were drowned in the harbor out by the town. Now, every summer, it is said that these 3 witches come back and possess the bodies of 3 women and lure boys out into the harbor and drown them. So this was a really, really good spooky story. Some things happen. There's this guy named Bo that comes into the picture, and you kind of wonder, is he telling the truth? Is he not? Why is he here? Every summer, tourists come in to try to see if they can figure out who the witches are, and the townspeople try to figure out who the witches are, who they're possessing that year. It was just a really good story. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. I just thought it was really good. I don't know what it was about it. I really feel like the atmosphere is a lot of it, but it's one of those books that after a little while, I just kept thinking about it and kept thinking about it. And those are the books that really stick, and those are the books that end up on my top list, the ones that I come back and think about. And sometimes I have to change my ratings because sometimes I think, oh, the book was good, but it wasn't my favorite book. But then later on, I'll end up loving it. And that was definitely the case with this book. I did love it starting out, but I felt like the more I sat on it, the more I loved it. Coming in at number 2 is One to Watch by Stayman-London. This book was so good. If you like contemporary romances and The Bachelor or The Bachelorette franchise, this is your book. Basically, this is a book about a plus-size bachelorette getting her chance at love, but also going through a process of loving herself and being who she is and not being afraid to be herself and not worrying about what anybody else thinks. It's a great book. So B is this plus-size fashion blogger, and one night she drunkenly posts this blog post about how she's so fed up with this show called The Main Squeeze, which is like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, and how they don't have good representation, whether it's fat rep or repping different ethnicities, like they're just not up to par. And so she goes on this rant, and there ends up being a switch up with who's producing the show, and B gets offered the opportunity to go and be the next Main Squeeze. I don't want to go into too much detail as with the rest of these books. I think that needs to be enough to pique your interest to pick it up. And let me just tell you, it was a 5-star read. It's written in multimedia, which honestly, like, I don't know why I keep saying this is a 5-star read, this is a 5-star read. They're all 5-star reads. I don't know why I'm saying that. But anyways, it was so good. It was written in multimedia, so there were articles, text messages, scripts, different things like that, and it was really interesting to read, and it was really fast-paced. I enjoyed the story so much, and I really appreciated the fact that there was fat rep in here, because I really do feel like what B said in the story was very true, that there is a lack of representation in shows like that, and I felt like it was done and handled really well in this book. I feel like that plus-size women will feel seen and heard and understood through this. I'm not a plus-size woman myself, so I don't feel like I can necessarily speak to that community, but I do have friends who are plus-size that have felt like that they were really seen and heard and understood through this book. But yeah, I just absolutely loved it. Can't talk about it enough. I definitely want to read it again soon, and I highly recommend it also. So the last book or books on my list are the Waiver Children series by Shauna McGuire. So this is the first book in the series called Every Heart a Doorway. There are now 6 books in the series. I'm getting the 6th one today. It just came out today. Today's the 12th. And my husband's bringing it home because he pre-ordered it for me for Christmas, and I'm so excited. Anyways, I absolutely love this series. If you don't already know, this series is about children who go through these different doors, kind of think like Narnia or Alice in Wonderland, but these children in their real life, they just don't really feel like they belong, they don't feel understood, and then they end up having the opportunity to go through these different doors to these lands that are very fitting to them and where they feel like they belong. But then, for one reason or another, these children are tossed out of their doors, and they have trouble adjusting back to the real world, as one might had they spent all this time in a place where they really felt like they belong. As a result, the children get sent to Eleanor West's home for wayward children, where Miss West has actually been through a door herself. And now it is her mission to either help the children find their doors again and get back through, or to adjust back into the real world. Each of the books in this series follows a group of kids. Some of them focus on the whole group and some of them focus on individuals. My favorite books in the series, I will say that, the whole series is a favorite, so the whole series is like number one. But my favorite books are, well, my second favorite, of all the books, of all the 6 books, my number 2 favorite is the second book in the series, Down Among the Sticks and Bones. This follows Jack and Jill, which are 2 of the characters in the book. It's very dark and reminds me of like an old black and white horror movie. So good. This one is great. And then my first favorite of all the books in the series so far is In an Absent Dream. So this one follows one of the ladies that helped out at the home. And I don't know why, I totally didn't expect to like this because I didn't like the character in the other books. And then when I read this one, I was like, oh my goodness, this is my favorite. So I can't go into too much detail without spoiling what happens with the different characters, but it is really great and is definitely my favorite. Alright guys, that is going to be all for this video. I have basically lost all of my light, so the content may be really low quality now, but you're gonna see it anyways because I really don't want to refilm this. My apologies for how scattered this video was, and for Jovi and for me just kind of being a little bit out of whack. But I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you found some books that interested you and that you might want to pick up. If you've read any of these books before, let me know down in the comments what you thought. And also let me know what your top 10 favorite books of 2020 were. If you have a video, you can go ahead and link that. Or if you have a post on Instagram or something, you can go ahead and link me there. I would love to check out what your favorite books were because a lot of times I get ideas for what I want to read based off of those lists. Anyways, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like to see more videos from me, hit the subscribe button, and you can hit the bell to get notifications for any time I post a new video. As always, I appreciate you guys so much, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!